Starving hostages. Hamas's propaganda exposed. Israel's desperate plea for Red Cross access. The heart-wrenching plight of hostages in Gaza has sparked outrage and calls for urgent action. Recently released videos showing severely malnourished Israeli hostages have drawn condemnation from Western leaders, while the Red Cross has urgently requested access to those still held captive. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy expressed his disgust, stating that the images of hostages being used for propaganda purposes are utterly sickening, and he insisted that they must be released without any conditions. This outcry follows the release of distressing footage by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad featuring Rom Braslavsky, who appeared gaunt and in tears, and another video from Hamas showing an emaciated Eviatar David. Israeli officials have accused Hamas of deliberately starving these hostages. In response, Hamas's military wing has denied these allegations, claiming that the hostages are provided with the same food as their fighters and the local population, despite the ongoing hunger crisis in Gaza. Reports from Gaza indicate that desperate Palestinians seeking aid near distribution points faced gunfire from Israeli troops, resulting in at least 27 fatalities, according to local hospitals. The two Israeli hostages, Braslavsky, aged 21, and David, aged 24, were taken during the Hamas-led assault on southern Israel on October 7, 2023. They are part of a group of 49 hostages still believed to be held in Gaza, out of an initial 251, with 27 hostages presumed dead. Following the release of the videos, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reached out to the families of the hostages, expressing his profound shock and assuring them that efforts to secure the release of all hostages would be pursued constantly and relentlessly. On Sunday, Netanyahu also contacted the regional head of the Red Cross, urging immediate action to provide food and medical assistance to the hostages. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, expressed its horror at the videos, which starkly illustrate the life-threatening conditions faced by the hostages. The organization reiterated its demand for access to assess the hostages' health, provide medical care, and facilitate communication with their families. Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, stated that they would positively consider any Red Cross request to deliver food and medicine to the hostages, provided that humanitarian corridors into Gaza are established on a regular and permanent basis, and that airstrikes cease during aid deliveries. The Red Cross has faced significant criticism in Israel regarding its role in the ongoing conflict, with accusations that it has not done enough to assist the hostages. Earlier this year, amid public outrage of the chaotic scenes during the release of hostages as part of a deal between Israel and Hamas, the organization clarified its limited capacity to operate in conflict zones, emphasizing its reliance on the goodwill of the warring parties. Palestinians have also voiced their frustrations, as the Red Cross has not been permitted to visit Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails since October 7, 2023. Over the weekend, protests erupted in Tel Aviv, where crowds, including families of the hostages, demanded that the Israeli government take decisive action to secure their loved ones' release. At a rally on Saturday, the families of David and Braslavsky declared, "Everyone must get out of hell, now." In one of the distressing videos, Braslavsky is seen tearfully stating that he has run out of food and water, having only consumed 3 crumbs of falafel that day. He expressed his inability to stand or walk, claiming he is at death's door. His family lamented, "They have managed to break Rom," and they urgently appealed to Israeli and US leaders to bring their son home, stating, "He has simply been forgotten there." In another video, David shared his harrowing experience, saying, "I haven't eaten for days. I barely got drinking water," while he was seen digging what he claimed would be his own grave. His family accused Hamas of deliberately and cynically starving him in their tunnels, describing him as a living skeleton, buried alive. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz expressed his shock at the images, asserting that the release of all hostages is a non-negotiable condition for any ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. French President Emmanuel Macron condemned Hamas as embodying abject cruelty and emphasized France's ongoing efforts to secure the release of hostages, restore a ceasefire, and facilitate humanitarian aid into Gaza. He also highlighted the necessity of a political resolution, advocating for a two-state solution where Israel and Palestine coexist peacefully. Recently, France, along with Canada and the UK, announced intentions to recognize a Palestinian state under specific conditions, a move that has drawn strong condemnation from Israel. As these distressing images of malnourished hostages emerge, UN-backed agencies have warned that the worst-case scenario of famine is currently unfolding in Gaza, with daily reports of deaths due to malnutrition. The Hamas-run health ministry reported that since the onset of the conflict, 175 individuals, including 93 children, have succumbed to malnutrition. The UN, various aid organizations, and some of Israel's allies attribute the hunger crisis to Israeli restrictions on the entry and distribution of humanitarian aid. However, Israel refutes these claims, attributing the crisis to Hamas. Despite overwhelming evidence, Israeli authorities and segments of the media vehemently deny that starvation is occurring in Gaza, labeling the crisis as a fabrication by Hamas and its sympathizers in the international media. While some Israeli protesters have displayed images of emaciated children to advocate for a deal with Hamas, many within Israel appear unaware of the severity of the humanitarian emergency unfolding in Gaza. As the conflict persists, Israel is experiencing increasing international isolation, with widespread destruction in Gaza and the suffering of its Palestinian population igniting global outrage. Polls indicate a growing negative sentiment towards Israel worldwide, intensifying pressure on leaders to take action. But here's where it gets controversial. Are the actions of the Red Cross sufficient, or is there a deeper issue at play regarding humanitarian access in conflict zones? What do you think? Are the hostages being forgotten, or is there a larger narrative that needs to be addressed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hamas agrees to ICRC aid delivery for Israeli captives amid Gaza starvation crisis. Hamas has expressed its willingness to allow the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, to provide assistance to Israeli captives currently in Gaza. This announcement follows a request made by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who urged the Geneva-based organization to intervene. The exchange of statements between Hamas and Netanyahu occurred after Palestinian factions released distressing videos last week, showcasing two severely malnourished Israeli captives. This situation unfolds against the backdrop of a dire humanitarian crisis, affecting approximately 2 million Palestinians in Gaza, who are facing severe food shortages exacerbated by Israeli actions. On Sunday, Netanyahu revealed that he had contacted Julian Lawson, the head of the ICRC delegation in Israel, to seek the organization's immediate involvement in supplying food and medical care to the captives still in Gaza. In a post on X, Netanyahu stated in Hebrew that he informed Lawson that Hamas was spreading a false narrative of starvation in the region, while asserting that systematic starvation is being inflicted upon our hostages. Later that day, Abu Obaida, the spokesperson for Hamas's military wing, the Qassam Brigades, issued a statement indicating that the Israeli captives in Gaza are provided with the same food as Hamas fighters and the local population. He emphasized that these captives would not receive any special treatment amidst the ongoing crisis of starvation and siege. However, he also mentioned that Hamas is prepared to positively respond to any request from the Red Cross to deliver food and medicine to enemy prisoners. For such requests to be fulfilled, Abu Obaida insisted that humanitarian corridors must be established in a consistent and permanent manner to allow the passage of food and medical supplies to all our people across the Gaza Strip. He further stated that all forms of Israeli attacks must cease during the delivery of aid packages for the prisoners. The ICRC, in a statement released on Sunday, expressed its shock at the distressing videos of the captives and reiterated its demand for access to the hostages. The organization described these videos as clear evidence of the life-threatening conditions faced by the hostages. They acknowledged the anguish of families watching these videos, who are understandably horrified by the conditions in which their loved ones are being held. According to the ICRC's website, gaining access to the hostages requires cooperation from all parties involved. They also noted that they have been unable to visit any Palestinian detainees in Israeli custody since October 7, 2023. In a separate statement, the ICRC condemned the killing of a staff member from the Palestine Red Crescent Society, PRCS, in a clearly marked PRCS facility in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. While the PRCS attributed the attack to Israeli forces, the ICRC did not specify who was responsible. In a concerning development, families of the Israeli captives voiced their alarm on Sunday regarding Netanyahu's persistent claim that a military resolution is the only viable solution. They warned that this stance poses a direct threat to the lives of their sons, who are trapped in the perilous conditions of tunnels and face the imminent dangers of starvation and death. The families lamented, for 22 months, the public has been misled into believing that military pressure would secure the return of the hostages, and now, even before a comprehensive draft agreement is reached, it is suggested that such an agreement is pointless. Currently, there are around 50 captives believed to be held in Gaza, with fewer than half thought to be alive. Recent reports indicate that the government media office in Gaza announced that Israeli authorities permitted only 36 aid trucks to enter the Gaza Strip on Saturday, while a staggering 22,000 aid trucks remain stranded outside, waiting to deliver essential food supplies to the Palestinian population. The United Nations office in Geneva has also raised alarms, stating that 1 million women and girls in Gaza are now facing starvation. In a post on X, the UN declared, 1 million. That's how many women and girls are starving in Gaza. This horrific situation is unacceptable and must end. We continue to demand the delivery of life-saving aid for all women and girls, an immediate ceasefire, and the release of all hostages. Tragically, at least 175 individuals, including 93 children, have been confirmed dead due to forced starvation, as reported by the territory's Ministry of Health. Among the deceased is 17-year-old Atef Abu Khater, whose weight had plummeted to just 25 kilograms, 55 pounds, before he passed away on Saturday. Netanyahu's plea to Red Cross amid hostage crisis in Gaza. Amid escalating tensions, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called on the Red Cross to aid hostages in Gaza, following public outrage over distressing videos of 2 Israeli captives. Thousands protested in Tel Aviv, demanding the release of remaining hostages held by Hamas. The International Red Cross condemned the situation and urged immediate action. World leaders, including French President Macron and German Chancellor Merz, expressed shock at the hostages' condition. Netanyahu requested Red Cross assistance for food and medical care, denying claims of widespread starvation